Hey, what's up? It's Wick for Xiaomify, and today, with a little bit of a raspy voice, we are going to look at the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G. Is it any good? Well, let's find out. Let's go. In the box, we'll find a SIM card ejector tool, some instructions, a basic protective case, and below that, you'll find the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G, a 33 watts wall charger, and USB Type-C cable. The Redmi Note 9 Pro is 165 by 76 by 9 millimeters in size and weighs in at around 215 grams. On the front, it's got a 6.67-inch LCD display with a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate, and it's got a 2400 by 1080 pixels resolution and a brightness of 450 nits. On top, it's got a small pinhole selfie camera that has a resolution of 16 megapixels. On the inside, it's got a Snapdragon 750G processor, giving this phone 5G connectivity. It's got 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, and additionally, it's got 8 gig with either 128 or 256 gigs of storage. It's got a 4,820 milliamp hour battery that supports 33 watts fast charging. On the back of the phone, it's got a 7P 108 megapixel main camera with an aperture of f1.75. It's got an 8 megapixel 120 degrees ultra wide angle lens with an aperture of f2.2, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. It can shoot 4K and HD video. On the side, it's got the volume rockers and power button with the fingerprint scanner in that power button. It's got a dual SIM card slot with micro SD card slot that allows you to expand its internal storage with an additional 512 gigs. It's got dual speakers for stereo sound, NFC, and it supports dual positioning for enhanced GPS. So how is it in use? Well, let's start by looking at the camera. And its photos come out looking, well, pretty good. These photos are all taken with the main 108 megapixel main camera. And these come out looking very nice. As always, I went around the block and I took a few photos with it, and the colors look well. The exposure and shadow areas look quite well. So they're pretty good, to be honest. At night, this camera also does quite well. Depending on the light situation in the picture, it did give me some pretty good results. Obviously, with better results when there's more light and a little bit more noise when it gets darker. But generally, it did hold up quite well. The video is also pretty good. I've used it at 4K, and during the day, these videos come out looking pretty good. The HD video does look a lot more stabilized though, which kind of makes sense. At night, the video is quite good. Not the best we've ever seen. As you can see, it's a little bit noisy, not very stable in 4K. In HD, it's a little bit more stable, but it does get a lot darker. I personally found the video not to be as good, not as stable, and especially at night, they're not really good. During the day, they're actually quite fine though. The 128 degrees ultra wide angle lens is pretty nice. The images are significantly wider, and I really do kind of like that wide angle look. The resolution of this one is quite a bit lower though. At night, this becomes more obvious, and you can see that these photos come out looking quite a bit more grainy. The video with the ultra wide angle looks pretty good. It's well stabilized. Especially during the day, it looks quite good. At night, this one surely does suffer quite a bit more, but again, that kind of was to be expected. The macro lens is, well, a macro lens. Again, it does work. I've used it a few times, but I'm not a fan, as I'm never. The portrait images are pretty nice as well. I just wanted to try that out, and it looks like I would have expected. They're pretty good. The selfie camera is also quite good. It's got that 16 megapixel sensor, and these come out looking pretty good. There's definitely quite the amount of detail in these. At night, they look, well, quite a bit less good with a lot of noise reduction going on. The video with the selfie camera is also quite nice, looks well stabilized, and Xiaomi, or in this case Redmi, is surely doing something very well with these selfie cameras and the stabilization of those lately. It's nice to see that this phone also has the same clone features. It's got the same dual camera features and sky replacement features as I've shown recently in my reviews of the Mi10T Pro and the Mi10T Lite, so it's pretty nice to see working well and fast on this phone as well. Now, how is it in performance? Well, it's actually exactly the same type of performance that I got with the Mi10T Lite, which I really liked for its price versus performance. It's actually surprisingly fast when editing photos in Lightroom or when doing that sky replacement. And obviously, it's just fine for daily tasks like browsing Facebook, Instagram, and all of that. But it also did just fine when playing some PUBG. It actually held up well, and I didn't have any problems with it. It's also got a pretty nice display. Again, this is just an LCD display, which some of you really don't seem to like, and I kind of understand why, but it is a good LCD display with a very nice and high refresh rate that's got that same variable or adaptive refresh rate that gives a higher frame rate when scrolling through the UI or when playing supported high frame rate games. It does give lower frame rates when it's not needed, and effectively that will save you some battery life. In terms of its speed, I got exactly the same type of performance like I had with the Mi10T Lite. On Wi-Fi here it did pretty much like I always get, so it's all fine. And on 5G it did very well, again. It even went over 1000 Mbps download, so that's pretty good. So the connection speed is pretty much like I had expected, but in this case it exceeded it by a little bit. Then how is the audio? Well, the audio is the same as we've seen with the Mi10T Lite, so let's have a listen. Let's have a listen. So we can hear it's not the very best in terms of speakers, but seeing that it has dual speakers, it surely helps a lot to give you a wider and richer stereo audio experience. It really helps to have these two speakers in there. So how about the microphone? Hey, what's up? It's Wick for Xiaomify, and this is what I sound like talking right into the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G. It's a long one. Let's go. Well, the microphone is pretty much the same. It's nothing spectacular or groundbreaking, but it does get the job done. So now, what do I think of the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G? Well, this Redmi looks pretty darn good. It's got a lot of the features of the Mi10T Lite that we've seen recently, but it does have a much better camera, which I'm always happy to see. I would almost call it the Mi10T Lite Pro. As a matter of fact, I feel it's pretty much the mainland China release of the Mi10T Lite, with just having an improved camera, and that does make it quite a bit more superior. In terms of performance, it's actually surprisingly good for the price category of this phone. It's nice that it's got all the bells and whistles like NFC, the IR blaster, dual speakers, expandable storage with the micro SD, the high refresh rate screen. So for the price of the phone, it's actually impressively good. The Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G just came out in China for a crazy 1699 RMB price tag on the entry level. And yeah, this price is simply insane for this phone. Sure, it's only out in China for this price, but it's a really good price for this phone though. Yeah, so Xiaomi or Redmi has been killing it with this phone. I do think it does offer quite a bit more over the Mi10T Lite with that 108 megapixel camera. But to me, it seems that this one will only get a launch in China. At least, well, that's what I think. So if you do want to pick one up, I will put down some links to the international resellers below this video in case you want to go and check it out. And that's about it. So what do you guys think of the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G? Is this something you might want to pick up, or do you prefer this over the Mi10T Lite? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below this video, and don't forget to leave a little like below this video to show me that you've liked it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, well, know that you probably should, as I'm doing a lot of videos about Xiaomi and the Xiaomi ecosystem right here on the Xiaomify channel. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see y'all soon. Peace.